Hey guys, Kmac here from DeathKnightHub. In this video, I'm going to show you the patch 3.1 Death Knight Spec. The spec I'm using right now is the Blood spec that I actually copied exactly off of Insidia.com. There's a couple of unique things, like some talent points are not fully spec 3 out of 3 or whatever, and there's a couple odd things here and there that I actually had to figure out on my own because they didn't really explain it in the guide, but like once you kind of think about it, you understand why it's there. Anyway, getting to the point, Insidia.com, they have great guides, not only for Death Knight tanks and DPS. They have hunter guides, shaman guides, druid guides, priest guides. I don't think they have every single class in spec, but they do have a lot, and they're very good guides, and it definitely helped me out a lot with my class. And I know a lot of people are trying to figure out the best spec out there, and there you have it, Insidia.com. I'll put it in my description box, and you can check that out. Many thanks to them for providing us with those guides, because they are very good. So anyways, to the spec, ignore my secondary spec here, which is Frost. Blood is my DPS spec. Now, it's pretty common stuff, you know, everything looks normal until you reach to bloodworms. I mean, who specs in bloodworms? That's pretty much a leveling spec. But the thing is, it does heal you for a lot if you're actually using it in raids. It does heal you for a lot, and it does proc a lot more than you would think it does. And it does that extra DPS. And you know, you might say, oh, it's only bloodworms. They only do 200, 300 every hit. But when you add up every little thing that everything does, I mean, it adds up to be a lot more DPS. So that's why they put bloodworms in there. Now, when you get to Frost, they put 2 out of 2 in maximum runic power. It's called Runic Power Mastery. Basically, it raises your runic power by an extra 30. Now, I was really confused about this because when I played on Holy, I mean, I never really got capped to the 100. I always runic power dump before I got to 100, so I was just like, why would I spec into that? But when you look at the Dancing Rune weapon, which is in the final talent tree of the Blood spec, sorry, it says here, unleashing the available runic power to summon a second runic weapon that fights on its own for 10 seconds plus 1 second per 10 additional runic power, doing the same attacks as the Death Knight for 50% reduced damage. So basically, if you have 130 runic power in your thing, whatever you want to call it, you can get a lot more time on that Dancing Rune weapon, and it does a crap load more damage than something normal. And then basically Unholy, it looks, I mean, most DPS things, whatever, it does have Ravenous Dead. It increases your strength, but it also increases your strength by the ghoul. You should also use your ghoul a lot. Even if you're in blood, there's a glyph out there where you can make free ghouls without having to have that dust, and you can use it every 3 minutes, and it does a decent amount of DPS for being in blood spec. But the weird thing that I found about this is like that they had the 1 point in morbidity. I mean, why wouldn't you go all the way with that? And why wouldn't you go all the way with Bloodpig Blade? But I guess Insidia is Insidia, so you gotta listen to them. And they're saying this is the best spec for DPS, and it is very good. It performs very well in raids, and I mean, it's just a great spec. So thank you for them. Alright, so just to give you a quick demonstration of the rotation with this spec. I'm gonna cancel out of here. Here's a level 80 dummy. We have someone else hitting on that on the boss one, so I'm not gonna disturb them. So basically, have my Horn of Winter up. Right at the beginning of the fight, I always pop my Raised Dead. Then I use Plague Strike, Icy Touch, 2 Heart Strikes, a Death Strike, and then I Runic Power Dump with a Death Coil. I wait till my Death Strike's back, and then I do 4 Heart Strikes. 4. Now I go back to Plague Strike, and I do Icy Touch, then another 2 Heart Strikes, then a Death Strike. And then what I do is I pop my Trinket, Hysteria, and Dancing Rune weapon. I go right back to the beginning of my rotation. The reason for this is that dancing weapon also applies its own disease, and if you have the diseases up there, you do a lot more DPS. So here we go, doing my same rotation as I always do. Here we go, 4 heart strikes, 2, 3, 4, and then back to the regular rotation. Plague Strike, Icy Touch, 2 heart strikes, 1 Death Strike, Runic Power Dump. Usually it's 2, 1, 2, and then 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 on the heart strikes. So basically that's about it. It's a pretty simple rotation once you get it down, and it does very effectively. Right now I'm pulling 3.6. Of course it's an 80 dummy, and I only have Horn of Winter up on me, but it is very good. I'll put a link of my Armory in my description. I'm probably getting a little bit close to the end of the time here. I don't have a time frame. But one thing I did want to add is that if you look at your runic power throughout the whole fight, you want to keep that runic power above 25. Unless you're popping your cooldowns or whatever, your runic power is going to go down a lot under 25. But the reason being is that there's this great glyph, and I'm still getting used to this. The glyph is called Glyph of Death Strike, and it increases your Death Strike's damage by 2% for every 2 runic power you currently have, up to a maximum of 25%. The runic power is not consumed by this effect. So basically, if you do have 25 runic power when you use your Death Strike ability, you do the maximum amount of DPS that your Death Strike can perform. And that's like really helpful. You can really tell the difference if you're below 25% of like how minimal your DPS of your Death Strike does. Also, another thing I like about Blood, it's very survivable. You're always the last one in the counter. You have your Blood Worms, you have your Death Strike, it heals you for a lot. And I mean, it's really great. I like Blood a lot better than I used to like Unholy. I loved Unholy before, but now Blood is definitely the best for me anyways. But there is also a guide there for Death Knight DPS and Unholy if you want to be Unholy. They're both very viable specs. Till next time, guys, I'm probably going to go over to the PTR and check some stuff out for the DK. I've already done some messing around there. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.